Carolers singing, sleigh bells are ringing, it's that time of year. Yes, it's December, the month of Christmas. And you know what gets me in the mood for Christmas? Excluding spending time with family and friends, having time off work, Christmas movies, and a lot of other things. Why, sitcom Christmas specials, of course. Today I'm going to look at the victorious Christmas special, A Christmas Tori, and figure out just how good it is as an episode of the show, and more importantly, how effective it is in getting the viewer into the Christmas spirit. And by Christmas I do mean the secular gift-giving holiday celebrating the birth of Santa. Let's go. Victorious is an interesting show. I watched it as it came out, and even at the time I felt it was a little different from everything else on kids' television. It felt less of a children's show and more of a teen show, especially when compared to the Disney Channel shows, and even other shows on Nickelodeon at the time. I've spoken about this before in my Cat and Robbie video, which is part of a series that will be concluded in the new year, so check that out if you want any more context on the show or my thoughts on it. I do have a lot to say on Victorious and a few other shows that were created by Dan Snyder. All I'll say in this video is that Victorious and its spin-off Sam and Cat feel the most untethered and adult-orientated, which is good and bad, and we see a little bit of both in today's episode, A Christmas Tori. The plots in the episode are this. Psychowitz forces everyone to take part in Secret Santa. As expected, all the main characters get each other. Yay for happy coincidences. Whoever gives the worst gift has to go Christmas yodeling with Psychowitz, because Psychowitz just loves spending time with his students outside of school. Meanwhile, Audrey gets a D in his creative music class, and he went from an A. How can someone go from an A to a D?
Happened to me in 8th grade.
Yeah! Moving on. Does Christmas usually involve all these innuendos? Does the show? The answer to one of these questions is yes. Meanwhile, Trina tries to decorate the Vegas tree in a subplot that is only there as filler and to remind us of how pathetic Robbie is. Not that anyone forgot. And finally, Bet can't sleep because there's a cricket in his RV, which sits in his parents' driveway. Yeah, he lives in an RV. Probably because his dad is Dan Schneider. I'd probably want to move out too. This subplot is there so we can watch Beck drink too much coffee and act hyper all the time. Beck with a personality? Well, colour me shocked. That sounded sarcastic, but I actually am surprised. So I'm just going to go through and look at these stories one by one from least important to most important. Starting with... There's not any more to this than I already explained. It's a nice change of pace to see Beck actually be funny and play off the other characters in a different way than he usually does. I would have liked to have seen more of that throughout the show, because as is, he is quite boring in the majority of the episodes he's in. This plot then links up with the main plot, so I'll summarise the conclusion of both at once later. Filler really is the word here. Thankfully, some of it is okay. There are some decent absurdist gags. Trina rappelling down the side of the tree is probably the standout. I do struggle with Robbie though sometimes. He is just too pathetic to even be funny. I just don't know why he needed to be in this plot other than to be humiliated. And humiliated he is. What he's not, for once, is spying on the Vega sisters. That honour goes to Mr. Busey, taking advantage of their policeman dad being out of town. I kind of thought this guy might end up being Santa at the end of the episode, but he doesn't. I don't know why I thought that, it just seemed like a kind of place that Schneider would take something like that. Andre gets a bad grade on his Christmas song and he doesn't take it well. This plot could have delved more into Audrey's psyche and songwriting techniques, but instead he goes crying, not literally but almost, to his teacher to try and get the grade changed. We never actually hear Audrey's version of the song, so maybe it was terrible. I think it's implied that he just submitted sheet music and lyrics, but we never hear the criticisms, or why it got a bad grade in the first place. From the way Andre acts in this episode, it doesn't seem like he took any criticism on board either. He just can't see past the letter assigned to his work. I guess there's nothing more Christmassy than acting like a petulant child. And again, this plot is concluded in... So Psychowitz coerces the gang to do Secret Santa because they're not getting into the Christmas spirit, I guess. He calls them grunches, carrying on the Snyder tradition of saying weird variations of common words. That's always funny. Then the rest of this plot is watching the gift-giving unfold. Robbie gets Kat a cotton candy man and machine at her beck and call for a week. Kat gets Jade the scissors from the scissoring. Beck gives Robbie the chance to tell his old bully off. This is a really bizarre scene. There's no getting around it. I actually kind of wish I didn't subject myself to this scene, especially around the holidays. Robbie is just such a loser in this episode. Anyway, Andre gives Beck the cricket from his RV, so it will no longer keep him up at night. Subplot resolved. And then Psychowitz gives said cricket to St. John's sister, because she's his Secret Santa. Look at her reaction. Keep that in mind for later. Jade gives Tori an idea for her gift for Audrey because Tori's clay guitar idea was terrible, and Tori is clearly too selfish to think of a better gift. Seriously, she goes on and on about how hard Audrey is to buy for, but really he seems quite easygoing, unless he gets a bad grade of course. Nevertheless, maybe Tori really needs to pay more attention to her friends' lives and maybe she'd be able to get them better gifts. So the girls end up performing Andre's amazing Christmas song for his teacher. A lot has been made of this scene as it's often cited as being a little bit too risque for a kids show. I can see where they're coming from, I guess. It does seem a bit strange. In particular, the dancing in front of the teacher seems a little bit too much. Yeah. Plan works, however, and Andre gets an A. I probably would have given it a B, but I guess Andre's constant whining paid off. Ultimately, Psychowitz decides that he himself gave the worst gift, so none of the kids have to go yodeling with him and the other weird characters. Amongst the yodelers are the Cotton Candy Man and Mr. Busey himself. I probably would have sent Tori or Jade, given that they essentially teamed up for a gift for one person, but that's just me. Especially since St. John's sister loved her cricket. It was clearly not the worst gift, in fact it was a good gift, given she liked bugs. Tori ends the episode with some narration a la A Christmas Story, but it doesn't really work because she doesn't narrate the entire episode, which would have been fun and made the episode feel unique. As is, the joke just feels a little bit lazy and probably should have been thought out more. So does this episode get me into the Christmas spirit? Of course not.
Christmas grunge.
Maybe so, I just don't really care for the song, and the plot is pretty predictable and boring. In my opinion, Victorious is at its best when it's so strange that you can't believe what you're seeing. And while there are a couple of scenes like that in this episode, not enough for it to be one of my favourites. I actually remember some other Schneider Christmas specials being a little stronger, so I think I'll take a look at them next year. It might be fun to compare. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and I hope you have a nice festive season.